Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I am Richard Dugan, and my very special guest, well, she goes by Carol Noonan, but also Soma ARah. And we're going to find out what that's all about. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for having me. And my apologies that because we've tried to arrange this 3 or 4 times. So finally, here we are connecting.
Well, I will tell you that my philosophy is the more challenging it is to get a guest on the program, the better it's going to be. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun because it's going to raise a lot more questions than it answers for people listening, especially if they are even remotely curious about who's out there. And I do mean who. I am one who believes that it is the height of arrogance to think we're the only sentient conscious beings in the universe. And I'm not necessarily including the biological, if you will, single-celled or multi-celled, what have you, microscopically viewed entities. I'm talking about other beings that are out there in the universe, not on this planet. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about the Pleiades and specifically Pleiadians. Can you give us a little bit of background? First of all, we'll talk about your connection to the Pleiadians, but define for us who and or what the Pleiadians are.
Okay, so when people ask me who are the Pleiadians and they haven't heard of them before, normally that's the case because otherwise they wouldn't be asking. But I like to keep things simple, and I normally simply explain the Pleiadians as being similar to archangels, although they're not. The Pleiadians are a species of very loving ET race species that live and come from the Pleiades star system.
Now, the Pleiadian star system, that's quite a number of light years away, quite a distance. And yet they are, should I say, they are here, or are they there still in the Pleiadian system, communicating, shall we say, telepathically or by whatever means that they use in terms of what we're going to talk about today?
I would say it's both. I would
Okay.
say it's both.
Okay. I've been getting that kind of response when I ask a question that requires a yes or a no, and people will say yes and no. So, so you're right there with everybody else. Let me ask you about the Pleiadians and what what makes them archangels? Are they beings like ourselves who evolved from single-celled organisms, as our biology or our evolutionary theories tell us? How did they come about? Is there information about that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say that they're not angels, although they have been described as that throughout history in a lot of the artworks and hieroglyphics and recorded art where you see angels coming down, which I do believe are normally they're representative of ET races. The So the Pleiadians, what I've been shown is that they created us in their likeness, and that they are um, life givers. They've brought life to several planets. So let me just start by explaining that the universe is teeming with life, and we are not alone in the universe. It's very um, um, I'm looking for the word. It's very naive to think that we're the only species living on Earth, but there are the universe is teeming with life, and there are several positive and negative ET races. In fact, there's thousands of them. So what I've been shown is that the Pleiadians created us in their likeness, and they've never really left, although they may step in and out of our a 3D reality. They're always around in the same way that spirit is always around. And life has been seeded on many different planets. And the universe is teeming with life.
You made the comment that they created us in their image. Of obviously that brings forth a biblical passage, that God created us in His image, the image and likeness, if you will. Is that where that comes from? That those particular, and again, we're not being blasphemous here. We're trying to figure stuff out, folks. It raises that question of where we come from and so forth. And if that's where we come from, then it seems to me that maybe that's where those writings came from, was the Pleiadians.
Um, a lot of the writings have, which writings do you mean?
The biblical, the Bible, as the
Okay, yes.
Christians teach it, because I don't know that there are any other philosophies. I haven't read in any of the other philosophies on the planet, like Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and the list goes on, that speaks to a creator who created us in its image, if you will.
Well, one of the first things they said to me when I consciously started to channel them in 2009 and 2010 is that they are the gods. And the word God should be in the Bible should be replaced with the word gods, and then things would start to make much more sense. And so I do believe the Bible, and I know the Bible has been changed several times. Things have been added, it's been rewritten, things have been taken out. So it's been adjusted to suit a certain criteria, a certain agenda.
Mhm.
Um, so that is, what one of the first things they said to me, which I found at the time very profound. Because and they also said, to add on to that, that um, they don't class themselves as gods, but we did at a certain point in our history. They've
Mhm.
also said that they are us from their past.
Mm. It reminds me of a of a poem and a song by Sebastian Temple that talks about the gods speaking amongst themselves after creating man and watching man's evolution. We need to hide, we need to hide the truth from man, because if man finds out the truth, we're doomed. Where will we hide it? And they go through a laundry list of places. Up on a high mountain, no, they'll climb it. Down in the deep sea, no, he'll find it. And the list goes on. And finally, one of them says, I know, we'll hide it in his heart. He will never look there. And it seems to me that that's kind of the case. And it relates to something we promote on this program, Carol. Should I refer to you as Carol?
Well, I don't actually mind, but I would just mention that my birth name is Carol Noonan, and the name I was given is Soma ARah.
Soma ARah. Now, for clarification, for my purposes, is Soma ARah just one name, or is that like a first name, last name? How does that work?
It's like a first and last name.
And
So
the
it's
meaning, is there a meaning?
yes, Soma is a sacred elixir or drink from the Indian culture, and then Ara is more of an Egyptian, and that means to arise up.
Soma ARah. Well, Soma, I will refer to you as such from this point forward, out of deference and respect to you. It's very important, I think, too. And this is one of the most perplexing things I find in this particular business. I listen to interviews, I listen to hosts interviewing people and messing up their names, even when they're normal, even when they're, shall we say, Americanized, if you will. European names, other names from other parts of the world, they want to change, like they did when people came over from Ellis Island, And the old joke for the Irish is, for example, my last name is Dugan, an Irish name. Well, isn't it O'Dugan? I said, no, they dropped the O overboard on the way over. But I want to show respect to you in that regard. This is interesting as far as trying to understand different cultures. So I wanted to kind of get into that a little bit, and then I want to get into your experience, Soma, with this aspect of the Pleiadians. And as you mentioned earlier, you have been for some time a Pleiadian channel. Can you share with us a little background on the Pleiadians, and I refer to it as their philosophy, what they live by, and so forth?
I would say that I've never been asked that before, but I would say that they have one golden rule, and that is to raise frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And they all and the love frequency, which is they've said it's measurable, and therefore, and they say this a lot, therefore if it's measurable, then it's you can create it within yourself, and even within others,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that if they had anything, that they would be living by, it would be to create the frequency of love within themselves and to expand on that, and then for us to do the same. That seems to be one of their golden rules. They're very non-judgmental. They're very easygoing. They have great humor, which might surprise some people, but they are very funny at times, very funny. And yeah, the love frequency would be.
Okay. And I'm just curious, again, as you have stated, we being created in their image and likeness, if you will. Do they have the kinds of diverse philosophies, if you will, or religions? Again, I use philosophies as opposed to religions, and the corresponding ancient wisdom teachings maybe written down that we have here, or are the Pleiadians more united, shall we say, in their beliefs?
I would say they're more united. I think a lot of their teachings has come down through written written philosophy, and there seems to be a lot of channelers who do channel them, and, and their teaching has come through that way. But it's more the energy they contain, which would be love times 1,000. That they always come in with such a strong, loving presence. Sometimes I found it, not so much these days, but especially in the early days, I found that energy overwhelming, and it would often cause me to cry, not with sadness, but just in the presence of that love is overwhelming, and I could really feel it to the extent that I found it overwhelming and so loving. And we're not used to that amount, that high frequency on Earth. It's above and beyond
Mm.
what we're used to.
And from a less important but practical perspective, are there male, female, or are there only two genders, or is there only one gender in that respect?
No, they have male and female. So Ashtar Commander is the main person that I channel. And then there's a collective that always comes in behind him that I channel.
Mm. Soma ARah is my guest here on the program. We're talking about the Pleiadians, and now we're going to get into the conversation regarding her experiences with them as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and it is really a pleasure to have Soma ARah here with us. She is a cosmic starseed, a Pleiadian channel, Pleiadian hybrid with a galactic mission on Earth. What is the mission on Earth that you have been given?
I love that question. I do. I love that question because it's so um it has such great meaning to me, because I had an experience while doing shamanic training in Ireland with a shaman, a very good shaman, called Paul O'Halloran, and we were having a weekend of ayahuasca, and I was training with him for about 2 or 3 years. I did the first course, and then I went on to do the second course with him. And it was during one of the weekends where we were doing ayahuasca, where we were all laying on the ground in the lounge, and we were all had blankets and cushions, and we were very warm and cozy, and we had water, and there was music playing. Um, I forget what the word for the music is called now, but they're sacred um shamanic songs.
Hmm.
And we were doing shamanic journeys, and I had this very profound experience where I was taken up and out of my body, and my one of my Native American spirit guides was there, who I call Many Moons, and the Pleiadians were there, and Ashtar, and I'd already started to channel them, so I was familiar with them at that point, consciously familiar with them. And I was shown my mission and my purpose for being here this lifetime, and in a very profound way. I've had many experiences since I was a child, but there's some that are so profound, that they've really changed my perspective and the course of my life and my direction. And I had actually started to channel them as a child, although I didn't know who they were at the time. I always just thought of them as my guides.
Mm-hmm. So, and they've been with you for quite some time, because you had an experience at the age of 12 that changed your life. I mean, quite honestly.
Yeah, yeah, it really did, Richard. It really did. I had other experiences before that when I was 8 as well, and younger. Um, but I was born awake, aware, and conscious of a lot of things that I was experiencing as a child that later made sense, that later on in adulthood made sense. But so I had many experiences as a child, but some of them um, were more profound than others. So when I was 8, and then when I was 12, I had I had a lot of trauma as a child, in the extreme, an alcoholic mother, poverty, a lot of poverty. And we grew up in a very poverty conscious area, in Hackney in London, which is similar, or was similar at the time, to the Bronx, and a lot of violence around, a lot of sexual abusive men, a lot of pedophiles, a lot of bullying at school, and then I was also raped and became pregnant when I was a child, back in the 80s. So I would have had a lot of traumatic experiences that led me to the point at 12 that I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to be alive. I wanted out, and I was serious. I wanted out, and I didn't want to be here, and I was done. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to know anything. I didn't want to engage with anyone or anything. I just wanted out, really wanted out. And so I went into my room and I lay on my mattress because that's all I had. And I was okay with that. I've always been okay with sleeping on the floor. And for some reason, probably past life memory or something. But um anyway, I lay on my mattress and I was crying and retching and really sobbing, was very snotty nosed, and it wasn't a pretty picture. And I was in so much emotional pain. I was just devastated. It was just a build-up of everything over the years, kind of releasing. And then I was deciding on taking tablets and ending it over the next couple of days. And then the next thing I knew, I left my body. And because of this experience, I'll never forget the layout of the room. It's always instilled in my mind. But so I left my body and I went up to the corner of the right hand room, on the right hand side. There was a door, and I went up above the door, and I was looking down on my body. And I went through a white tunnel, a white light, and I met up with Jesus, or Jesus came to me and took me on a very long journey for about 3 or 4 hours, and explained to me that everything was perfect in my life. And he showed me a lot of my karma and a lot of my situation. And when he understood that, I understood that, the lessons he was showing me and the experience and all of it, then when he understood that I got it, then he showed me the bigger picture for humanity. And when I came back, I was gone about 3 or 4 hours, and when I came back, I was totally blissful. Totally blissful. I'd gone from one extreme to the other in the space of 3 or 4 hours. And I was blissful. That feeling of blissfulness stayed with me for about 3 or 4 weeks, and it gradually ebbed away. And it changed my whole perspective. It changed me internally, because nothing else had changed. I was still in the same house. I was still with the same parent. I was still with the same siblings, in the same school, in the same environment, with no food, no money, blah, blah, blah. So, but I had changed so much within the space of 3 to 4 hours. My whole perspective and understanding had changed. And actually, when I look back on it, it wasn't just an out-of-body experience. It was a Kundalini awakening.
Wow. Talk about transformation. It's a part of what talk about the conversation that Jesus and his disciples are having having. They are just stunned. They're amazed. They're awestruck over all the miracles that he's performing. And they go, hey, could you teach us how to do that kind of stuff, and looks at them and then basically says, well, yeah, I can, sure, but I want to tell you something. You're going to be doing greater works than these. And my belief is that greater works is that transformation, even that transformation that you experienced in your life that allowed you to more consciously and intentionally carry out a mission that you have been given. And we'll talk more about that. We're talking with Soma ARah, and we're talking about the work that she is sharing with us regarding the Pleiadians. She has a book called The Pleiadian Child. It is available on Amazon. There's also a book that's coming soon. It's called What's Really Going On? And Soma, I would say that statement or question is on the tip of everyone's tongue, especially this particular period in time here in 2025. What is going on? Are you kidding me? And some people feel as though, oh my God, it's a rerun, only worse. And it's like, well, how can a rerun get worse? In this case, it seems like, and this is all perception, I know. But I also recognize, too, that everything is temporary. There is nothing that is permanent. Nothing's written in stone, if you will. Not even the stones are written in stone. And we'll talk about that as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan here with Soma ARah, and we're talking about the Pleiadians. Her book, The Pleiadian Child, available on Amazon. Her website, somaarah.love. Soma ARah. I love how they've opened that up, Soma, to where you could have pretty much any derivation of .com that you want. And this is really cool. And folks, by the way, you spell that SOMAARAH.love, LOVE. You have a particular mission, and I want to share with our listeners here that Soma ARah is a Pleiadian starseed, a channel who can help assist humanity raise its frequency to inspire, to uplift, to shine, to teach, to learn, to heal, to transform, to grow, to share, to teach, to share downloads, teachings, transmissions, and channelings from the Pleiadians. Do you have a specific description of your mission, or is it sort of all encompassing in those words that I have just stated?
It is. It's kind of all encompassing, but the main mission, my main mission, is to channel the Pleiadians and give their teachings, their wisdom, their knowledge, their experience, their understanding, in order to help to raise humanity's awareness. And more specifically, during this time, we are on the very precipice, at the very dawning of a grand new age and a great reset, which is a positive phrase that has been inverted and used in a negative way, excuse me, by the negative agenda. But so many starseeds are here now on Earth for this particular time to assist humanity in the great ascension, the great awakening of humanity, the new dawn. There's so many different names for it. And we are in such a
Oh no.
On a human evolutionary level period, our bodies will become crystalline.
There's a beautiful episode, and I tend to go back to this back in the late 80s, early 90s of Star Trek Next Generation, where there was an individual who was being chased by people from his planet. He didn't know why, per se, and he also didn't understand what was happening to him until near the end of the program. Spoiler alert, folks. He transformed into this, I'll refer to it as humanoid shape, but he transformed into this shimmering humanoid body of light, and they didn't understand it. They wanted to confine him, to lock him up, and the next thing you know, he says his goodbyes, and he flies right through the hull of the ship out into space. And I'm sitting here thinking, is that our destiny? Is that our evolutionary process as human beings? That, eventually we'll be able to travel at beyond light speed. I mean, you talk about a transporter taking you from point A to point B in an instant. And that's on the physical level. But at the same time, he also was aware. He couldn't really describe that awareness because there was so much there. It was like he went from a 1 megabyte data storage device to a gagillion byte data storage, unlimited or infinite. But and that's one of the things too that we could talk about as well in terms of these different aspects. But what do the Pleiadians tell us? And there are those who would probably preface, and maybe some of your other programmers have put it this way: if we don't destroy ourselves in the process, what is our, shall we say, our evolutionary destiny? I know that there is no real end to anything. Everything is in, because everything's energy. It just transformed. Can you talk to us about where we are headed? Not predicting our future in the next 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years, but as a species, where are we going?
We are evolving. We are in a transformationary period that goes back to Atlantis, where we didn't evolve. We chose not to, collectively, I guess. And we seem to be, what they have said many times, to me at least, is that we are on a parallel timeline to Atlantis. But we didn't evolve in Atlantis. We devolved in Atlantis largely due to being overthrown by negative ET energies that came in and overthrew Atlantis, which caused the downfall of Atlantis, and we didn't evolve. This time we get to evolve, most specifically because there are DNA codes that they've placed into our I guess you could say energy bodies. But they have placed specific DNA codes into our energies in order for us to, in order for them to make, for them and for us to make sure that we do evolve, because the great awakening of humanity is not limited to us. It affects everything in the universe. It has far-reaching effects and implications. So what happens on Earth is not restricted to Earth. It affects the Pleiadians and star systems and suns and moons and other species and other races out there in the universe, in the galaxy. So Earth, all humanity, it affects everything. Stars, suns, moons, species, other similar planets to Earth as well. So it also affects the Pleiades and their evolution. So the evolutionary period that we're on, they've said that it will happen. We're not going to de-evolve this time. It's in place.
So in spite
and
of,
we're on track,
right,
and things are going well.
Right. So in spite of what we're seeing, in the world today, we can have hope, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a changing of the guard, where everything is being exposed, the dark is being exposed, the negative agendas. And I have been told that every system on Earth is run at the top level, at the highest level, by negative ET energy. And I really do believe that. I
Mm.
know that, you know, to be a truth. And so all the systems on Earth need to fall, need to burn down, need to be dismantled. And a new guard needs to be put into place. So we're literally going from the dark into the light, and everything is being replaced. It's not that the world has got more evil or darker or more negative. It's just that all of that is being exposed for what it is, and people are seeing it for the first time, perhaps, in their lives. And it does look very dark. However, it's just being exposed for what it is, and new energy, new ownership, new guards are being brought in, which and sometimes in a very physical way, being white hats, sometimes they're called, or uh, more positive agendas to replace the negative agendas that have been ruling this planet for far too long. So there is a much bigger picture going on Earth at the moment than we're being shown by the media or the radio or newspapers, that there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes.
I'm curious as to the Pleiadians' origin story. Where did they come from?
You could say that I take that back. I would explain them as being created by Source,
Okay.
created by God, and they've created us in their likeness. However, I have to say that they have several brothers and sisters, such as Syrians and Lyrans and many other species of positive and negative ET races have created life and seeded life in many other planets, suns, stars, moons, you name it.
Mm.
So, but I would say that they were uh, um, and on a bigger picture created by God. But I do believe, well, I've been shown that there was a group of beings before them that were, they didn't have physical bodies, they were just light bodies, whereas the Pleiadians do have physical bodies and they do live amongst us on Earth. But I was shown that before the Pleiadians, there was a group of beings that were just light. They were just had light bodies. They didn't have physical bodies, and they were much taller. Um, and um, and that they created the Pleiadians and other various ET races and species.
Um, it has been said by some, whether you want to refer to specifically the Pleiadians or the other beings out there, that supposedly within this, shall we say, galactic confederation, there is, whether it be a written or unwritten rule of non-interference, if you will, an intergalactic prime directive. That we will observe, but we will not interfere with the process that the humans are going through. Is that true?
Yes and no. Yes, to a large extent, you have free will. And they are here to assist us, but they've said very clearly to me that that they're here to assist us, but they can't do this for us. The evolutionary process is an awakening of consciousness that no outside influence can achieve. It has to be, it's an inside job. We have to, as a group, as humanity, as a group of people, human beings that have a consciousness, we have to raise that consciousness individually, and as we do individually, it then creates a collective movement forward of an evolutionary period of our consciousness collectively. So they have said they can't do it for us. However, they are assisting, watching, and observing, and also they've also said, which is where the yes no comes in, that this time they're here to it's this time they won't allow us to devolve, because it would affect them and it would affect other species in the universe in a negative way.
So now there's a sort of self-preservation.
Yes, to preserve themselves, to preserve others, and it's not just species that have life. Planets and suns and stars and moons also have life. Mother Earth is a living being. So with that said, and the fact that it does affect everything within the universe, it also affects the planets and the suns and the stars and the moons. So they have said this time that we do evolve, and they won't let us not, that they would step in if they had to ensure that we stay on track. But they've also said that we do evolve this time.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. I guess I came into this world at the right time. Matter of fact, there have been those who have stated on this program that the beings, if you will, on the other side of the veil, if you will, those who have gone on before us, as well as the archangels and all of the other guides and what have you, they recognize those of us who are in body today in this time period. They recognize us, or they consider us to be heroes because we have chosen to be here at this time. Hero or not, what I know is with this program, Tell Me Your Story, I know that there's a better way. Do I have the answers? Well, no. I might have bits and pieces, but I don't have all the answers. I'm looking for them just like everybody else. And if it takes going to the Pleiadians or going to the Pleiades, if I could get there, because I will tell you that sometimes in my frustration and angst, I want to call out to the other beings in the universe and say, will you please bring the mothership and come get me and get me the heck out of here? I'm done with this place. This is ridiculous. I'm tired of the drama. I'm tired of the way that this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years, in spite of the fact that I also recognize too, Soma, that we all signed a contract, as it were, when we came into this world to have the experiences that we have, whether you be the perpetrator, if you will, the prey, or the perpetrator, if you will, in that scenario, that's part of the experience that you wanted to have. And it's like, okay, it's time to rewrite the script. Enough already. We don't need the drama. We don't need the trauma. Although there will be those, Soma, who will say, well, yes, but it's through those challenges in life that our character is built. I'm going, there's got to be another way. Okay. Now, I'm thinking that that's strictly from the human standpoint. I don't think that's necessarily true from the spiritual standpoint. Am I wrong?
I would say that that everything you've said is accurate. I um, I came to understand that I needed to experience my childhood in the way that I did because, so on the one hand, I was having these horrendous, awful, horrific, terrible, traumatic experiences, but they were also bringing with them these beautiful, uh, profound experiences of connecting to the Pleiadians, connecting to Jesus, connecting to my guides, my loved ones, and teaching me along the way. And I didn't need to, on a higher level, I didn't need to learn anything because I already knew it. But
Mm.
in a human form, my logical mind, I needed to learn and understand as a human being, not as a Pleiadian hybrid, but as a human being, I needed to learn certain things. And did, I do believe I did choose those things. And it has been very challenging, but then on the other hand, it's been very beautiful as well. And
Mhm.
so I guess I would be one of those people that does believe that everything does happen for a reason. I would just like to share to explain a couple of things for your audience,
Mhm.
Richard. So um, the the time of Atlantis, what I was shown by the Pleiadians is that negative ET energy came in and overthrew Atlantis. And they've been ruling the all systems ever since then. So now we're on, and there was also a contract, a very physical contract that was drawn up between the negative ET and other positive races, such as Pleiades. There was a contract, very physical contract that was drawn up um, that gave ownership of Earth and humanity to those negative ET races, species. And that contract has come to an end now. It's been torn up.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So it had an expiration date, and I guess that's sort of a good thing, because it opens up new opportunities for us to do what we're doing here. For example, with this program, we're wanting to help to raise the consciousness of the people, of ourselves first, and of the people, the rest of the world, and the planet in that regard. And we're not talking about this from the standpoints of taking away anyone's free will. You are free to choose to go whatever direction you want. By the same token, I would encourage people to look deep, deep, deep within to find out what it is that they really, really want. And I'll be honest with you, the people who are in power, if they were to do that, they would realize, you know what, this isn't really what I want. I'm doing this because it's almost a knee-jerk reaction. It's a reaction, if you will. It's what it's expected of me. It's almost along those lines of kids growing up in a family that owns a business, and the family expects that individual to go into that business, and so they do, and on and on and on. When in fact, what they'd really like to do, to the consternation of the family, I want to be an artist. I want to be a musician. I want something that probably wouldn't make a dime. But it's like, but that's what fulfills me. That's what makes me happy. That's what allows me to be who I am, and so forth. And it's like, if I go the other way, I'm going to be miserable. And many people choose the misery, as that effect of going someone else's way or the way that someone else wants them to go. So and I'm sure that you have run into that as well, as you have grown with people who, they find what you're talking about and the information you're sharing. No, you're off your rocker. You need some meds. Okay, we need to lock you up and so forth and keep you away. And it's kind of like that one character from the television series. That's what they wanted to do, to keep him away from the public. But it seems as though we cannot escape our evolution. It's going to happen. It's kind of like you're born into this world, and let's say you're only what 12, 14 inches long, and they're going to put you into a box so that you can't grow. But that's not going to happen. The box is going to break eventually if it doesn't kill you or crush you, because you're growing and they can't stop the growth. That's part of the evolutionary process on a spiritual level as well, too, isn't it?
Very true. Yeah, absolutely. That we've reached such a point this time with ascension, because there's been many different previous times where we could have ascended, and we did ascend, but so this is a continuous cycle of evolution, of humanity's evolution. So we've had other periods such as Atlantis where we didn't evolve, but this time there's no going back. We've reached such a level of consciousness, and we're experiencing it in a way that we've never experienced on Earth before. We've never had this, not in the way that we're having it. This awakening, this evolutionary period that we've had before, has never occurred on Earth in the way that it is now, and a lot of that is due to the technology that we have, and not to mention the technology that the negative agenda are using, that the vast majority of people don't know about.
One of the things that helps me in a big way, especially with what's going on here in the United States in our at the governmental level, there are a lot of people that are concerned that a lot of quote unquote personal information is going to be made available to this group and that group and the other group, and they're going to take advantage, and on and on and on. And I put it in this context. As one who does believe in a creator, a higher power, and I do believe much of what I read from a spiritual level in the ancient wisdom teachings, that the creator is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, knows it all from beginning to end. And if the creator knows everything about me, the good, the bad, and the ugly,
yeah,
what difference does it make if the 8.5 billion people on the planet know? Most of them don't care. And those that do, they're going to do what they're going to do. Now, I'm hoping to have another 35 plus years on this planet to continue to do what I'm doing what I'm doing. However, I don't know what my departure date is. I don't. None of us do. But if it were today, I'm good to go. Okay, because I've done a lot up to this point. Do I want? And again, I can't control that. It is going to happen when it's going to happen. However, I would like to stay, but if not, I'm okay with it. I'm ready. And what difference does it make? What information is out there? Now, I'm not putting out my tax forms or my personal information on and on and on onto social media. That's not something that I do. And I know that people can do all kinds of research and they can dive into this dark web and that dark web. All right, fine. But it's like, so what? Because when I'm gone, none of that's going to matter anyway. And but they can make your life so difficult. Well, I take the perspective as Jesus spoke of it when he talked to his disciples who were worried about where they're going to get their next meal or lay their head that night or what clothes they were going to wear. And the list went on. And he says, do you see the birds up there? They are not even at the level of you that you are. Okay. They're God's creation, but they're not his children in the same context. And then he talks about the lilies of the field. And he says at the end of that, he says, let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. You're taken care of. Know that you're taken care of by the universe. And that's what I believe. I don't know that that's true. I believe that it is true. And my experiences have borne that out. Is that a message the Pleiadians are trying to get across to a lot of other people on the planet, that, hey, you need to relax? You're okay. You're going to be taken care of.
Yes and no. So yes, in the sense that sometimes we can over worry about mundane things
Hmm.
and get into anxiety. And I would say I've had that in the past as well. And then on a higher level, they would say that um, there is nothing really to worry about, and just to raise the consciousness, to raise our own consciousness, and to see things from a higher perspective, and to um, create, because we are creators. So to create the world that we want to live in, which would be, for a lot of us, would be the new earth, and that everything is perfect already the way it is, and that there is divine timing. So there are natural laws there that govern the universe,
Hmm.
such as divine timing, and um, allowing things just to be, and not trying to force things or to grow in a certain direction um when things aren't working or going in that direction. That's always a sign to me that um to shift direction, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. I have to say that I know that there was a lot of angst between 2016 and 2020. We felt a sigh of relief of sorts. We thought, okay, we can breathe now, but it was as if this individual would not go away. Now we have this individual until 28, and then maybe we'll get to breathe a sigh of relief, and we'll be able to breathe, relax, and enjoy life a little more. We don't know what the future holds, so I would have to say the Pleiadians' advice might very well be: forget about that person, forget about what's going on over there, start relaxing, start breathing, start enjoying the life that you've been given. Is that a message that the Pleiadians would be giving to us today? In addition, of course, to raising the consciousness of self and others.
Well, if you're talking about Trump, I am a huge supporter of Trump, and they have said that they are working with him in a very physical way. So I don't follow the narrative of what the media is portraying about Trump. I think he is an exceptional human being, um, with a very physical, direct connection to the Pleiadians. So that is what I believe. That is my perception.
Mhm.
Um,
And again, everything is temporary. So even those who are concerned, who have the angst, who have the uneasy feelings, need to take solace in the fact that it doesn't. It's none of this lasts forever. They said the same thing during the 2 terms of Ronald Reagan. You know, they thought the world was coming to an end and he was going to destroy everything. Well, guess what? That was in the 1980s, and here we are in 2025. We're still here, okay, and we're still breathing, and we're still doing the things that we've been doing even before he became president, and we will long after this gentleman is finished with the job that he has been given to do. So I think that's one of the other aspects of it too. That I mean, in 10,000 years, who's going to care?
yeah,
Seriously, who's going to care?
yeah.
It's not going to matter. It's going to be over. And I also have to wonder too, from a spiritual level, from a strictly spiritual perspective, because a lot of what we're talking about here is on the material level. But when we continue to raise our consciousness and we get closer and closer, we reconnect with that aspect of us that is truly immortal, the soul, the spirit. None of this stuff has anything to do other than, well, I should rephrase that. None of what's happening in this physical world is is really that important when it comes to our spiritual existence, that which we were created initially, not so much by the Pleiadians per se as physical human beings, but as souls that we read about in the ancient wisdom teachings. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I'd say so, Richard. I think that we get caught up in the everyday stuff,
Yeah.
and there's a much bigger picture going on at play.
We're
And
talking with the author of the Pleiadian Child, available on Amazon. Is it available in Audible?
no, it isn't.
Okay.
Um, is available on Amazon. My second book is already released, which is called What's Really Going On. That was banned on Amazon, and
Wow.
yeah, so it's available on my website, which is somaarah.love. Um,
Amazing. Amazing. By the way, I saw something some years ago regarding Kindle. Do you know the first book that Kindle banned? And it's an irony. It's a true irony. Fahrenheit 451 was the very first book that Kindle banned. I was absolutely amazed. But hopefully, people will be able to go to Amazon, get this copy. The Pleiadian Child, another book that's available soon, not right yet, but you might want to check with Soma ARah dot love. And that's what's really going on. And I think that's important for us to know what's really going on under the surface. And we're not talking about the whole aspect of religion or government or economics or what have you. We're talking about on a spiritual level. And we will finish things up here in just a moment here on Tell Me Your Story. Soma ARah is my guest. Soma ARah dot love is the website. We encourage you to go. We'll be linked to that website as well. And Soma, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us. I know that we probably, I don't know, I didn't set this up ahead of time, and maybe we'll try to connect again and do this where we can speak through you to the Pleiadians. Is that something that you do?
yeah, I'd love to do a channeling for you. Yeah.
All right. Well, then stay with us. We'll talk about that after we wrap things up here. And I want to thank you for joining us here on the program. I do have three final questions that I want to ask you that I ask all of my guests. But before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. We have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. We hope you'll go there and check it out. We are also on YouTube, where you can listen to and watch these conversations. Subscribe and click notifications so that when I post a new conversation, you will be notified. Also, remind you that Choices 5 Steps for Life, which is my book, is available through Amazon. There's a link on my homepage, richarddugan.com, for you to go straight to that book and order your copy in hardcover, paperback, or Kindle. Audible is soon to be released. And also, if you would like to support the work we are doing financially, you'd like to be a part of the effort to bring about new paradigms for a new world and raise the consciousness, if you will, we have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And we also ask that you take some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s. And we ask that you take time to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still small voice. And with all of that, we want to thank again our guest and then ask the three questions we ask all of our guests. The first of which is, who is Soma ARah?
I would say a hybrid soul, a blend of Pleiadian and Lyran energies, consciousness, awareness in a physical body, having an experience on Earth now with a mission to help to awaken humanity with the title of Starseed.
What gets you up in the morning?
Coffee.
And finally, what was your best day?
My best day was recently.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your day with us here on the program, and look forward to having you back and having that experience of speaking with the Pleiadians through you. So, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Richard. Much love to you.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to long. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.